Welcome, everybody, to the College Football Prediction Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. I want to remind you to make sure you follow us on Twitter at Grueling Truth. Make sure you check out the best sports book, the best bonuses, the best sign-up bonuses at BetMGM if you want to bet on this huge game. Let's go ahead. Let's get started. It's week 4 to college football season, and the first 3 weeks saw a few big games, but for the most part, we didn't see a bunch of huge matchups. This week 4 is shaping up to be one of the best weeks of the season. And today we're going to look at maybe the best ACC matchup of the season. We got Florida State against Clemson. Clemson, of course, came off a 28-7 whitewash at the hands of Duke in their opening game. Since then, they've kind of righted the ship, but against mediocre or worse teams. Florida State started the year off with a huge win against LSU. And then they came back to life against Boston College last week as they struggled to beat Boston College. Now, that game, a huge struggle, narrowly wins 31-29. And that was at Boston College, which helps the Seminoles here because they have played on the road. They were favored in that game by as many as 24.5 points. Florida State quarterback Jordan Travis was solid, if not spectacular, against BC with 212 yards and 2 TDs through the air. He left the game with an apparent shoulder injury, but will reportedly be full go at Clemson. Now, can Florida State round back into the form to carry them to a dominant 45-24 win over LSU in its season opener? Travis went off for over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game and outperformed LSU stud quarterback Jaden Daniels. Now, Clemson brings a top 10 defense into the contest, allowing just 3.85 rushing yards per game or per play and 246.7 yards per game overall. But those numbers are skewed a bit with games against lesser foes Charlestown Southern and Florida Atlantic. The Tigers suffered a surprising 28-7 loss, as I said earlier, to Duke in the season opener at Duke. Clemson entered that game as a double-digit favor against the Blue Devils, and the Blue Devils basically throttled them in the second half. Now, Clemson finds itself in unfamiliar territory as a result of that loss. Now, the Tigers are on the outside looking in at the AP's top 25 teams in the nation. Clemson is also a home underdog at Death Valley for the first time since 2016 when Louisville and Lamar Jackson came to town. Florida State is a short favorite, though, with the line hovering between 1.5 and 2.5 points across basically all sports books. That's notable considering Clemson has won its last 7 games against Florida State, including 4 of those at home. Now, Will Shipley is Clemson lead running back with 225 yards on the season, but Phil Maffa has earned co-starter status with 6.6 yards per carry and a team-high 3 rushing touchdowns. Bo Collins and Antonio Williams lead Clemson's wide receiver core as top targets for quarterback Cade Klubnik. Klubnik has played well. He's thrown 8 touchdowns. He has had 2 picks. But once again, he didn't play well against Duke. The other 2 teams they play are throwaway teams that aren't very good. Now, when the Seminoles have the ball, you'll have to keep an eye on wide receiver Keon Coleman. He's already grabbed 4 touchdown receptions and averages 14.2 yards per catch. So who am I picking in this game? This is a tough one to pick. You very rarely get Clemson with points at home. Clemson is 1 loss from elimination in the college football playoffs. You got Travis versus Klubnik, and the passing games are a wash for me. But the Tigers rate the edge on the ground. And I think the Tigers rate the edge on defense. I'm getting 2.5 points. And since I'm getting 2.5 points, to me, the value is to bet Clemson. I think this is going to be a close game. I don't think Florida State's quite as good as we saw in that week 1 win over LSU, and I don't think they're quite as bad as what we saw last week at BC. But with the 2.5 points, I'm going to bet Clemson, guys. I'm going to feel really good about it. Clemson at Death Valley. I think it's a toss-up game. The 2.5 points can make the difference in winning or losing the bet. And if you want to bet the game, make sure you go to BetMGM for all your gambling needs, especially when you're betting college football this week. And also follow me on Twitter at Grueling Truth. All right, guys, for now, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.